Right now, I want to welcome to the program Laura Carno. You know her from I Am Created Equal. You know her from her many appearances on the program. But now you get to know Laura in a whole new way because her brand new book, Government Ruins Nearly Everything, is available for sale now. How you doing, Laura?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I am excellent. Although I have to say I'm a little disappointed because I think my book is waiting for me at the house.
It's waiting for you?
Yes, so I have not
Out
had
in
a
the
chance
hallway,
to
or?
crack it open yet. But
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Yeah, you and Cameron were two of the first people that I sent a book to, and I thought it was funny that Farmville gets their UPS a day later than Northern Virginia.
You know, we're I don't want to say we're behind the times, but you know, it's a little bit further out from D.C., so we have to have a Pony Express rider get stuff here. So, yeah, the pony's probably a little tired, but hopefully it's waiting for me. I'll be able to crack open the book. I have had the chance to read a little of it as you've been working on it, and so I guess the first question is: government ruins nearly everything. All right, that's a pretty bold statement. Do you offer any fixes? What do you want people to get out of this book other than agreeing with you that, yes, government does, in fact, ruin nearly everything?
Sure, and other than seeing some quotes from Cam Edwards, you were kind enough to allow me to interview you.
Yes, and that's another reason why people, of course, should read the book. But
absolutely,
I think
Cam Edwards is good.
There are other reasons as well. So, is this a guidebook? Is this a strategy guide for voters and citizens? I mean, how would you describe this?
Sure. So what I tried to do was set up 4 social issues, and the subtitle is Reclaiming Social Issues from Uncivil Servants, one of those being guns. There are issues on both sides of the aisle, and there's something for each side of the aisle in here, where somebody might say, gosh, I want the government out of these 2 issues, but I want them to fix these 2. And you just flip the issues and flip the side of the aisle, and you hear that same thing. And I'm making the case that government isn't the place to fix any problem that we've got going on. And in fact, in those 4 areas, every time government butts its nose in, it actually makes the problems worse. And I actually talk about in each of the 4 areas people and organizations who today, as we speak, are doing things privately outside of government to fix things. And you were very helpful in my guns chapter, which is chapter 8. And you not only allowed me an interview, but you connected me with some folks across the country that I was able to interview, and really set that up, that if government's in charge, they make the problem worse. And in the gun chapter, it's gun violence is the problem that is made worse. And when great people like John Annoni from Camp Compass Academy, one of the people you sent me to, when they do things to help gun violence actually is improved and it's reduced.
You know, when you look at what's going on in Chicago right now, where violence is skyrocketing this year, and there was a young man who had actually just appeared in a video saying people need to stop shooting other people who got shot yesterday in Chicago. And then you look at what John does there in Pennsylvania. And, you know, John's not there in rural Pennsylvania. He's there in Allentown. He's dealing with at-risk youth. And he's getting involved. I mean, that's the thing. These kids are not data points to John, Laura. They're flesh and blood human beings. They're individuals who need his help and who need the help of those individuals, other individuals who care. And that's how John has been able to see, I think, success with this program, is because, you know, it's not just a collection of government funds and that's distributed out to individuals. It's not some, nebulous government program. John's dealing with people on a real individual basis.
Right, and whether somebody wants to take John's path of helping kids and reducing gun violence or a different path, the point of the book is government isn't the place to go for this. I lay out the case that government isn't, it's not even structured to fix problems. Government is structured to see a problem, take a bunch of money from us, come up with a quote-unquote solution. The solution doesn't make the problem better, so they must need a bigger solution. They take more money from us. And the problem, I'm not talking about short-term problems. I'm talking about decades-long problems, the problems keep getting worse. And, my point is that, as the subtitle says, we should be reclaiming these issues from the government. I call them uncivil servants. Many people who work in the government are good people, but the bureaucracy and the programs that are supposed to help never do.
Talking again with Laura Carno. Her new book is Government Ruins Nearly Everything. Now, all right, so let me play devil's advocate for a second. Because I can hear people saying, okay, so you say that, Laura, that government shouldn't even be dealing in these issues. Well, government has an obligation, government has a responsibility to protect the public, right? To take measures and steps for public safety. So, of course, they should be passing gun control laws. Of course, they should be interfering with gun storage laws, and of course, they should make it as hard as possible for criminals to get a hold of guns, even if that makes it harder for law-abiding citizens to get guns too. Of course, they should be doing these things. How can you say they don't have a responsibility to act in these ways?
Well, what you're saying would be accurate if their solutions worked, if gun control worked, and for your viewers, what I lay out in Chapter 8 isn't going to be news, but there are a lot of people who catch their news on gun crime and gun violence on the evening news and don't dig into the statistics. And I go through just the really high-level statistics of where sort of the more guns, less crime argument, when these quote-unquote safety measures are passed that claim that they're going to keep guns out of the hands of the bad guy, and we'll just have to be patient with that. Those don't work. So I'd be open to some sort of legislation that actually took guns out of the hands of bad guys and left ours alone. But there is nothing out there, and that's not what the government's doing.
All right. So how concerned are you, Laura? I mean, you've been, sort of looking at the landscape here for a couple of years. You go back to the recall elections in Colorado. How concerned are you that things are getting worse, not better? And how easy a fix do you think this honestly is?
So let me just, at a 50,000-foot level, say this. In each of the four topics that I cover, and in addition to guns, I'm talking about marriage, schools, and abortion. So I'm just diving right into the four issues that cause the most fireworks on both sides of the political aisle. The trends over time are that people want to be left alone to make decisions on their own. So I'll give you an example outside of the gun world. More people today refer to themselves and think of themselves as pro-life than ever before on the abortion issue. But they increasingly don't want Roe v. Wade overturned. And so you look at this and try to reconcile and say, who are these people who say, I'm pro-life, but I don't want Roe v. Wade overturned? They are people who don't want the government making the decision. And in all four of these areas, that's where the trends are going. People don't want the government involved. So I look at this and I say, I think we're going in a good direction. And this book knits together the sort of that higher level concept of leave me alone to live my life, and I will leave my neighbor alone to live his life. It knits them all together with these four political topics.
It's interesting because you're right. I think that first of all, I think politics has just become exhausting for a lot of people. And, you see a growing number of independents who aren't affiliated with either party. You do see this year increased turnout in the Republican primaries, which I think indicates a desire to change the status quo in Washington, which I think kind of goes along with what you're saying here. But there are, so many people who, at the end of the day, leave me alone doesn't necessarily translate to a winning political philosophy, right? Because it can also mean that you're detached and you're apathetic. You're not involved either. So I think maybe one of the challenges here is that you're talking about, I think, a very common philosophy, but you have to be willing to fight to be left alone, right? You have to be involved in order to be left alone, as weird as that sounds.
Right, and in Chapter 4, I talk about the rise of the independents. You're exactly right. Being left alone doesn't have a lobby. And when you look at lobbyists and how they make their living, they're making their living by taking money from people to get goodies from government sent their way. And when you just want to be left alone, there are no goodies to get. You just want to be left alone. So I think it's up to people like you and like me and Julie Gunlock saying the things that we're saying to help people think about this differently, that we want to be left alone. And I chose the title of this book, Government Ruins Nearly Everything, very specifically. Everyone gets this. It doesn't matter if you're Democrat or Republican or independent or non-political. There's nobody that says, gosh, the government is doing such a great job. When I say nobody, there are probably a handful of people, but almost nobody is saying that.
No, dissatisfaction in Washington, D.C. is extraordinarily high. And I think even at the local level, you find probably more dissatisfaction than is good with, the level of service there. And, but that's the thing. I mean, you can be dissatisfied, you can be disgruntled, you can be angry, but that doesn't necessarily make you effective. And that's what I kind of like about your book is that you're more interested in being effective than in letting the world know, here's how I feel, right? And and I think that ultimately that's more important. It's more important to be effective than to let the world know how you feel.
Right. And is there anyone who doesn't want these four things to get better? And I said in the chapter on guns that if there's anybody reading this book who just thinks that guns need to disappear from the face of the earth, put this book down right now. It's not for you. And the reason I say that is that that's not going to happen. If we want to reduce gun violence, the first step is saying, we have guns here in this country. They are here to stay. Now let's look at where gun violence happens, where it doesn't, what the differences are, and apply the things that are happening in the good areas to the things that are happening to those bad areas so that we can have more good around. And, yeah, I think it's probably a pretty practical approach.
Well, listen, Laura, I appreciate you coming on the program. How can folks get their own copy of Government Ruins Nearly Everything?
So if you go to lauracarno.com, there is a picture of the book cover. You can click there. Takes you right to Amazon.com to the link. If you're already in Amazon, you can just put in the title, Government Ruins Nearly Everything, or my name, Laura Carno, and it'll take you right to it.
Awesome. We also have tweeted the link out as well at Cam & Company, so folks can find the link. Laura, listen, I wish you all the best with the book. Congratulations. I am looking forward to cracking it open myself and looking forward to talking again very soon.
Well, thank you. And look for yourself on page 15 and page 93.
Page 15 and 93. Awesome. All right. Thanks for letting me know.
Absolutely.
Now I don't have to flick to the back and
right?
try to find my name in the index. Yeah. Thank you. Laura Carno joins from I Am Created Equal here on NRA News, Cam & Company.